Hi, everyone. Well, I have the wonderful Dr. David Clements with me again, and I know so many of you absolutely adored the conversation we had last time. David is a theoretical physicist who specializes in string theory. He, in the first part of his career, had a very mainstream academic career, and then in our last conversation, he described how his life changed pretty radically, and he's now doing very different work. Very much aided and abetted by his team. So, welcome, David. It's a joy to have you with me again. And just first off, would you like to share with people who your team are, just so people realize
Sure.
they aren't human?
Yeah, sure. So, well, first of all, hello everybody, and I just wanted to say a very warm thank you, and not only to you, Pam. I've loved the interactions we've had, and I look forward to many more, and hopefully I'll get to see you, when we come back to the UK. And thank you to all of your audience as well, because on the previous talk, I looked at some of the beautiful comments that people were having, and the main thing for me is how the information I give touches people and moves them forward and helps them to see something that they perhaps didn't see before, or gives them inspiration to perhaps do something new or expand on. So all those things are wonderful things to me. So I can't thank your audience enough for sure.
Well, they love
Uh,
you, absolutely, and will continue to, I'm sure, David. But where are,
so,
yeah, sorry,
oh, 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 no worries. Yeah, sure. So
where,
yeah, you asked about the team. So yeah,
yes,
just a quick recap on, where we were last time. So in the very beginning, when I first started, I'd say around, because I never used to be very academic. I was more artistic and creative, and then something switched on, and then I switched to sort of mathematics and physics. Had no idea about the higher self or all these kind of things, and but had a very keen interest all the way through from as far as I can remember, and all things going on up there, and that never stopped. And it was when a friend of mine bought me a book to do with all strange phenomenon, including remote viewing, which is what I talked about last time, which really kicked me into gear and got my intuition really switched on, which I think was really the aim. It wasn't really to continue, remote viewing as I was doing it. It was just to, right, okay, let's kick him on and jump him, throw him into the deep end of the swimming pool, and let's go. And um and it was from then that I started to get the connection with the Palladian groups that I work with, and very beautiful, warm, very intelligent, compassionate beings. And then shortly after then, the Arcturians came and introduced themselves and started putting an emphasis more on the sort of energetic science or living energy science aspect of it. So there was in tandem my healing strides, because I had to go through a lot of changes, and I still do, which we spoke before we went live. They need me to go through lots of different jumps periodically, and that's really to jump to a new level of access to higher energetics and higher information. And through that period, there's a period of almost, I wouldn't call it downtime as such, but it's transition time, because you don't feel quite like everything is stabilized yet. It's still settling down, a little bit like, a simmering pot. It has to settle first so that you can integrate the new energetics that you have and begin to learn to work with them, because it's like each upgrade is like a new handbook. It's like, okay, right, now you've got to read a whole new way of doing things now, you know. And so to come to your question, so the teams are mainly Palladian and Arcturian, but there's a lot of other races in, over those years that I've been doing this that have come forward. Some of them from the Andromedan galaxy, some of them from way, way other galaxies that we don't even know the names of. And sometimes and the way it happens is they'll introduce themselves to me, and I'll ask my higher self, because I always work through the higher self to connect, because that way you know exactly who you're connecting with is spot on, who you're supposed to be connecting with. And I ask for an energy snapshot of them, and you can get a direct feeling of who they are, what their intentions are, and the love that they have for humanity and the way they come across. It's a very special, beautiful process. I call it a quantum snapshot, but it's really just an overall energy impression of who it is that you're dealing with. And so I always do that so I can get a feel, because the other thing is sometimes their energy might be so high that you feel, okay, maybe just a short interaction this time because it's, you're turning up the dial quite high, and but otherwise it's they let you decide. So this is us, would you like to work with us? And you get the sample and you say, yeah, this is great. I love your energy. I'm happy to work with you. And so a lot of the times when I ask for the name, you go, I can't even pronounce that. Let's just don't worry about the name. Let's just I know who you are by your energy. That's fine. So because that's some of the way they pronounce their names. It's not a spoken language. It's a telepathic communication, and you to frame the thought of what the name or how they address themselves is very different to how we think in a human term. So it's not always so straightforward to just say, oh yeah, this is the such and such people or the whatever. But because we have common languages for like the Pleiades system or the Arcturian system, they just introduce themselves as the Arcturians or the Pleiadians if we know them commonly. So and so yeah, and then there are other aspects as well, because there are expansive intelligences which are not in form, but they operate in different high levels of fields. And so they don't have what we call a physical body that they occupy per se, although they can do that at will. And so that communication is a little different as well. It feels quite airy and expansive, and as if you really are being encompassed by a field when you speak with them. So there's quite a lot of different qualities or characteristics to the. So I just call them the team rather than run through a whole list of different things. So and it can change sometimes. Some races will come to the forefront, and you'll spend a couple of months more with them because of the particular so should we say specialities, or how adept they are at certain things. And then sometimes they'll take a back pedal and then another group will come forward. So it is very dynamic, that's for sure. So I hope that gives a nice picture
And
of.
it's so fabulous to hear, David, that they have such love for humanity, that they're working with you in your theoretical physics background to develop
Yes,
these incredible regenerative devices and sort of modalities, as well as working
yes.
with you through the meditation, the group meditation.
Yes, 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 yes. And
Wonderful.
actually, if you wouldn't mind, just a quick point on that. This is a very significant thing, because the love that these beings have is when beings become sufficiently evolved and heart-centered, they recognize that becoming heart-centered is always the way forward. And the Arcturians, who are very adept scientifically and energetically in terms of the energy of science, they're just really profoundly adept at it and so well known throughout this galaxy for what they can do. They said to me once, they said, David, you're going to find that it's a whole world different living from your heart intelligence than it is from your mind intelligence. And they said that to me when I was struggling, because they said, look, you're trying to approach this from a mind perspective. And what we would like you to do, we're asking you to do, is to come into your heart center and see it from there. And so these races that have that in the intelligence in the heart recognizes every other heart intelligence as family. It recognizes it as the same. So it's really that love for another, like that intelligence reaching out to another love intelligence is a perfectly natural thing when beings operate from that space. So it's innate to them, I feel, to these advanced races. And you do, you get other races as well. I mean, you get human beings that are not so like, shall we say, in that camp, and that's the thing, when beings get so disconnected from the heart intelligence and they operate from a sort of survival mind-based intelligence, they then become me, grab, 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 take, and everyone else doesn't matter. That's essentially the downward spiral to moving in that direction. And so, yeah, it's incredible to see them because they have such a beautiful balance of being able to work, what we would call scientifically, but I tend to feel it's more sort of energy science rather than what we call physics and science. They're so adept at that, but they have such a profound and advanced connection with their heart intelligence. They can do both so well. It's great,
It's so beautiful to hear because that's obviously where we're headed, and
Yes,
you're
yes.
specially selected to lead some of this. So it's really beautiful to hear. And to that point, because David teaches these, he takes his group through beautiful meditations, which are very heart centered, and it's free, I think, to join your Patreon group, David.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We used to do it all for free, but because we started a new platform where we needed to keep it ad free because people were going to these meditations and suddenly advert would come up in the middle. So we started a new one. So we do charge for some of them based on, if it's based towards self development, but all the ones to do with earth meditations, global meditations, anything that enhances the whole, those will always be free. And all the ones that precede that are always going to stay free as well.
Fabulous. Well, I was involved in, I think, your most recent one, which I think was February 23rd.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
and that was a powerhouse of a meditation. So, I'd love you to talk about that and what happened in that meditation. I don't know if you actually started off with the intention to clear some of the Earth's energy fields, toroidal fields, but if you can share with the
Sure.
audience what happened, because it was mammoth, wasn't it? The end.
It's funny. I say to my wife sometimes, I said they never go by halves, do they? It's all in or not at all. It's like, and they sort of, work with me in the same way. And sometimes it's like, please give me a break. It's like,
Yeah.
um, but it's one of the things is that they are so keen to reach out to people to help them understand the power that they are to do good and to help. And with these meditations, the power that people feel is not just from them; it's what arises within them as they're doing it. Because again, I always say to people, the evolutionary process that humanity is going through is we're being given the chance to return to heart-centered intelligence, which is there are no words of profundity to even try to encapsulate that. It's such an amazing and beautiful thing that anything and everything you could possibly create, which is unlimited, is all there. And when that gateway opens up and people can feel the emanation of that intelligence coming through them, that's you. You know, it's like almost like saying, do you see even just that little bit coming through? Because it's a little bit compared to what's really there, is so profound and powerful. You get a slight glimpse of just how awesome you are. Everybody is. And so one of the lovely things I find with those meditations is that when people get and feel that experience, they suddenly start to realize, wow, yeah, there's actually quite a lot in there, isn't there? Yeah, there is, and there's so much more to explore. And with that, the one of the main things that these groups I feel are trying to encourage people to do is become aware of that unlimited, infinite powerhouse, you might say, not power in the usual mean, but power in the just unlimited emanation of creativity that's there, the love intelligence. But it's to be aware of your ability to also direct the energy through your creative intent as well and to do good with that. Or you can't do bad with that, it's impossible, but you can use your intent to lens it to do different good things. That's a better way of saying it. And so what they do is they would love people to be aware of their stewardship, if you like, of this planet as responsible custodians for maintaining and expanding the Earth experience by fully understanding who they are, who the Earth is, and who you are as a connected living energy system, because the Earth has very similar energy systems to us. We are symbiotic. And, the Earth is a very advanced form of love intelligence, just as we are. And so we walk around on the surface, and sometimes there are civilizations under the surface. And when you have that connection, that heart-centered connection between you and the earth, just like with my teams who come forward to me, and I'm sure other channelers as well, there is this symbiosis and the recognition of the infinite intelligence in them that is the same from you and vice versa. And that creativity and connectivity together, it magnifies immensely through the creative process, you know. And so in this meditation that you described, so what they did is they placed fields around people in the meditation. And this was to facilitate a very deep and powerful transportation down to the core of the earth. So it's a form of bilocation in a way. So even though your body was here, there was an aspect of your consciousness that can be transported down to the center. And while they were there, what they did is there were a number of different, and lots of people in the meditation could sense them. All of these vessels were literally just beaming down pillars of light right into the mix of that area there and triggered off a huge wave, like a supernova wave from the center of the earth. And there's a couple of things mainly that happen from that. One is there are energetic flows that in the human form and in the earth form that flow like giant donuts or toruses, like toroidal flows. So they go outwards and they go the other way as well. So they both cycle at the same time, but counter rotate in a, you know, a donut way. And but they also spin laterally as well. So that way and that way. So it's a beautiful energetic mix. And so what they were saying was that the energetics, the living codes that get imbued into those flows and constantly, almost like a breathing mechanism around the earth that keep flowing and flowing. And we do the same around us. And everyone we meet, you get a sort of almost an overlap or a sort of partial blending of those codes. So when you meet someone and you have a resonance, there is this connection that goes on when those fields overlap. And so, because of what the Earth has been through historically and all the historical junk, shall we say, and yucky stuff, to put it mildly, that spills into the codings as well. So the Earth, as it's generating these flows, creates a mix of light codes as well as some of the yucky stuff. And so what they were doing is they were upgrading and changing the energetic system in the core of the earth. So much more of the light codes are now cycling through the Earth's toroidal fields. And they had a massive clearing of all the yucky stuff that was filtering. It's a little bit like a lens. You know, if you have a dark colored lens, you know, not much pure light will get through it. It just seems like it's this murky, yucky, gray kind of thing that comes out the other side, you know. But what they did was this big clearing of the filtration energetics, if you want to call it that, so that the coding system that then cycles through these toroidal bands that we interact with symbiotically by being on the earth as well suddenly changed. And I got the instant feeling, and so did a lot of people who were doing the meditation live, and I'm not sure if you got the same, Pam, was that there was a real lightness shift that happened in the atmosphere that, you know, when I went out walking or, you know, when it happened and people were reporting this afterwards, that they felt a real lightness jump. And it's literally because then the environment was now imbued with these higher light codes that, you know, with a lot of these yucky filters having been cleared, it's like it really opened up quite a degree more. And I have a feeling they're going to do a lot more of those. And it's important to do it in steps and stages because people have to learn to integrate and assimilate as they're living in that environment. You can't jump too high because although everybody would love the good stuff straight away and all in one box, you know, it's like stuffing a whole box of chocolates and expecting to feel good afterwards. You know, it tastes really nice, but just a little bit of a time, you know. In that, you know, your whole energetic system needs time to assimilate basically and learn to work with those new coded energetics. In a way, it's a little bit like a language. You know, the language got upgraded and now you have to learn to understand and receive the new language codes that are coming. And so your body then settles down and stabilizes, and the earth does too. And then now you're ready for the next jump, you know. So that's kind of how it works.
Wow, it's amazing because I think you mentioned that the Earth had jumped timeline
Yes, it did. Yes.
after that, which is fantastic, and there is no mass destruction on the current timeline that we're on.
Yes. So yeah, we talked about this before when we had a brief chat, and so yeah, I want to assure everybody that despite the fact that there are certain groups that want certain things, the timelines we're on don't facilitate that, because you have to understand that only certain things are allowed within an energetic environment. You can't just do, all these other things just because you want to. The energetic environment has to allow for that as well. And so that's why a lot of conscious engineering has gone on to try to steer people to create that energetic environment. But, what humanity has been doing has been very beautifully waking up and learning their custodianship in a sense. Not, I don't mean that in a sense of custody as we mean it. It's more of a guardianship. That's a better word to use. Guardianship is better, to learn their symbiotic guardianship of being here as a living creator on the earth, because the earth was always designed, in my perspective, to be a vast galactic living library. And, because of certain things that happened, humanity, sort of started to drop down into these highly densified levels. And by living library, I mean that literally experiential knowledge and information is contained in codes in the air, in the earth, in the water. It's an entire living energy complex, which is a library system. And as human beings, because of our genetic makeup and the way we have this profound ability, and people who are sensitive have this ability already to connect in and get experiential snapshots and information and access the library to a certain degree. And people are getting better and better and better that every day. And when we talked before, I spoke about the libraries underneath, the Giza complex, and that there was a lot of talk about that these libraries weren't physical libraries, they were energetic libraries, and you had to have the ability to key in using your energy field to access the information and the knowledge. And you can only do that if you raise to a certain level. And that's how a lot of information is protected, from people who want to try to misuse it, is that it's only accessible if you have the right center and the right energetic system in place. And you can't artificially get there. That's not possible. You have to attain a certain level within yourself, which is a very beautiful way of making sure that, very awesome systems only get in the hands of people who are responsible to use them. And that's not to say, there are a few things that people unfortunately can do, but the really, really good stuff is held in wait until people are ready.
Yeah,
That's a very key point, I think. Yeah.
that's wonderful to hear because we really do seem to be in an accelerated phase of evolution, David. So many people are
Yes,
talking about this, and I'm
yes,
seeing it in the astrology as well.
yes, yes. And just actually one more thing I'd like to mention, if you don't mind, is that one of the things to remember in what people are seeing play out is what you're seeing is that you have to remember that the human being has been under a condition of mild consciousness with a lot of unconsciousness and subconscious playing out in the background. Because everything that we have suppressed, the traumas, the historical stuff, that gets squished down into our unconscious and it still plays out. But because it's unconscious, we don't recognize it. We don't feel we resonate with it. It's like, what on earth is who's doing this? It's like, what are they thinking?
We're
And
doing it.
we are doing it exactly. That's the thing and that is part of the great awakening. And what people are feeling and seeing right now, it's not things going wrong, it's things going very right by the yucky stuff that comes out from the unconscious to clear from you, so that the conscious part of you can expand, and so you can eventually become fully conscious with no unconscious at all, nothing repressed, nothing that is old and stagnated and stuck causing problems. So that is the unfolding that we're going through. And yes, it will play out in the outer world. But I would say to sit at peace with that, because very, very high level forces are monitoring and watching it all the time. They know just how much to introduce, how much to step back and let it unfold, have another go. And they're constantly modulating. There is never a moment when this is not happening. So, as much as you might see a few groups here wailing and threatening this, just focus on your center and you will find the truth of what is really going on.
That's beautiful, and you expressed it so beautifully, David. So thank you. It's going to be so reassuring for people. But I've often said in videos, this is, it's the collective consciousness that has produced the reality
Yes.
that we're currently living
Yes.
through. It's
Yes.
down to
It
us,
is.
each of us.
It is.
So
It
it's an
is.
inside
Yes.
job at the end of the day. So,
Yes,
so
yes. And that comes back just very quickly to what I meant about guardianship. When you are fully conscious guardian, you understand the responsibility of energy generation and how to lens your energies, how to create with them, rather than just having your unconscious just blurt stuff out there that's really not helping you at all. It's kind of so I think that's all part of the part of the package.
you've said it so clearly, and that's going to be so helpful for people. You have no idea. So great.
That's good. That's good. Definitely, yeah.
So a couple of other areas about the light, David, and you know I haven't yet talked about this, but I was chatting with a wonderful, very psychic lady just a couple of days ago, Nancy Rebecca, who channels the blue light beings. And since then, a couple of people have written to me, and I don't know whether what they're referring to as the blue light is the same as Nancy is channeling. I don't know. But a couple of people wrote to me really saying the same thing, that the blue light we are now entering, or the blue shift, one of them,
Mm,
is a much shorter wavelength end of the spectrum, which is the galactic end, that can carry a lot more complex information that will start to open us up to our multidimensionality. And that's what we're moving towards. So I don't know if you have any view on that.
sure. Yes, there's actually a multi-folded process to this. So as a living being, the main ascension process is taking place inside you. And that's a big thing to understand. Now, there are lots of waves and expansions that come from outside. And usually what happens is that when I mentioned before about the teams that are constantly watching and modulating, there are vast teams from all over the place that are adding different aspects and also overlooking some of the pulses that come from different systems and places. And to add to that, it's not always just coming from a star system or the galactic core. It's actually emanating from the space around us as well. There have been times in the past where astronomers were measuring emanations of certain radiations. It's like it's all over the place. Where is it coming from? There's no one spot that it's coming from, and they couldn't fathom that. And so I would say that from my experience with the teams, living energy sciences is really at its infancy as far as human perspective is concerned, but that light itself is or photons, the individual packets of a light field, are just what we see as we compress energy and we particulate it into these individuated packets, but they're actually part of an immense interconnected field. And these packets can act as massive library storehouses. And I mentioned in the previous talk when, photons interact with, they can literally, depending on what you're resonant with information wise, they can offload to you and you can impart and they leave and they carry your information as well as the originals. And so there's beautiful interconnected web of sharing energy or light encodement sharing that goes on. And there's many forms that can take. And as we evolve, and these external things are given to us really to seed these packets of light that do unfold. Sometimes they're time capsule in a sense that basically means that they interact with you. It sits in your energy field, but it doesn't do anything yet until you raise to the point where you can work with it and it can unpack. And then suddenly, woo, I just got a sudden jump. Where did that come from? And a lot of times it's the unpacking of these packets which were lying dormant, ready to open up. And the most common signal for that is your higher self. When your higher self sees, okay, you're ready for the next step. Let's open up that next block or pack and see how you work with that. And so there's a whole slew of different ways in which these energies can be given through solar flares, galactic flashes. emanations from different, because they're sending different star systems are always sending different modulated packets of codes when the timing is right. So they all have this interconnectivity and they all say, okay, right, be really great if you launch now. And okay, you just hold off for a second, in a very human way of looking at it. But it's kind of like that in a way. But they're so very adept at understanding what is the greatest course of action, for humanity to help steer humanity into its greatest potential. And so as we evolve and as we move through our ascension process, we begin to become more resonant with higher frequency level photons or energy fields, if you like. And so our ability to access better, higher information, because different energies will carry different qualities of information. Sometimes it's just put at a level that's appropriate for you now. Sometimes there are people operating on the planet which are much higher level, so they get to receive higher packets of codings to help them. So it's a big, big myriad of essentially flourishing humanity with encodings. But the aim of it is ultimately to help humanity to reach back inside and realize that ascension is actually happening from within you, and as it is with the earth, from the core of the earth as well, because it's an internal opening up experience where you suddenly really open up to this greater level of source intelligence within you. The immediate aspect of that is what we call our higher selves. But it's all that source intelligent energetic. And so that to me is what they're doing, is because humanity has been living in such an external perspective existence for such a long time. They're trying to help humanity remember everything is in here. And that comes to your question about astrology, because everything external is a direct reflection of everything that is internal. And part of the ascension process is to realize that everything is actually in here. And if it's all in here and everything is a direct reflection, you can learn to read what is out there and understand what it is about yourself that you are seeing in your own reflection. And that's extremely helpful for evolution, because it helps you understand the things about yourself that might be unconscious or you may not be aware of that are actually causing X, Y, Z, and you get those aha moments and think, oh my goodness, yeah, I see it now. It's like, it does happen, right? And I mean, with me, I laugh at myself sometimes, because even some of the most silliest, simple things, oh, how can I miss that? It's like, and it's a beautiful process, because, when you treat it with a very jolly, lighthearted way, and see it as just this beautiful play that's playing out, and you are the orchestra and you are the conductor as well. Everything is coming from this center. When you begin to realize that, and then you move into this guardianship of being a full, self-aware, knowing creator that is of source intelligence, then big things start to happen. You can reshape your reality, you can change matter, you realize that what we call physics is nothing more than just a word that describes energy behavior that you are doing that you don't yet realize that you are doing. And so it becomes, wow, everything outside of me appears to be really stuck and stagnant and rigid. But that's because that projection of rigidity is coming from the center. If I change that and expand and become more fluid, suddenly everything starts to change correspondingly. There is a direct one-to-one relationship. It literally is a reflection of what is inside here. And that's a really wonderful sense of self-empowerment, because you begin to realize that you are not bound to what is going on outside of you. It is a teacher, it is a reflection, but you have mastery in the sense that you can change any of it once you realize, and you are living in that core source intelligence within you, which was the very same intelligence which created the whole universe in the beginning. So if that can happen from within you, what stops us from realizing that now and doing the same? Nothing except ourselves. It's just our own filters, our own taken on self-limitations that when people talk to each other and they, say, oh, they say it in a way which creates such self-doubt. And I say, well, you don't need to do that. That's just another filter trying to keep itself going. You are literally an aspect the same intelligence that created all of existence. Why do you think what you're facing is going to be, such a problem? It doesn't, and that really is where humanity is heading. That knowingness, that awareness, that livingness as source intelligence, that you really are unlimited. You are this powerful interactive energy library system that can create, transform, and do whatever you want from the heart center. And as you do that, because it's done from the heart center, it doesn't create in duality. So you don't get the negatives as well as the positives. You get what is created benefits everybody, because the same love intelligence knows you and it knows every other living being in existence, and it knows how to balance everything perfectly. So that's why I always say, that's another reason why the Arcturians said to me that when you learn to create and live from your heart intelligence, whole new vistas and worlds and paradigms are going to open up to you that you just simply cannot do by creating through dualistic creation mechanisms, such as our current thought processes and things like that. So this is why I always encourage people, and they always encourage me, heart-centered, heart-centered, heart-centered. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's very real, and there's real reason for all of it. But yes, there is the beautiful aspects of the compassionate qualities, the gentle qualities, the nurturing qualities that are in the heart center. It's all part of the same beautiful intelligence that exists in the heart center.
Interesting, because I talk about this so often in videos as well, almost from an astrological point of view, David. And I've said many times, your inner state is your absolutely top priority, because everything is
Yes.
from your inner state. Focus on that,
Exactly.
and you change your reality. So it's
Yes.
fascinating to hear that. So going back to the blue light, is it the case that we are gonna, if it's true that we are receiving more blue light, is that going to enable us to open up to our multidimensionality in a bigger way? Because for the people who are writing to me saying this could become a kind of collective, almost near-death experience where we all open up to many more dimensions, to trees, to animals, to plants, to birds, and we have a much fuller and expansive existence. But the people who've been writing to me have been talking specifically about the blue light. Does that play a part, would you say?
It's interesting. From the way I would see it is that it's a very rich tapestry in a way, because it's not just photons that are playing a role. It's literally the space that we occupy. And the one of the things that in physics that gets forgotten a lot is the actual space which particles sit in. And just very briefly, I remember hearing, I kind of laughed when I saw this, that Nikola Tesla used to, write to Einstein a lot saying, no, I think you got it wrong, chap. It's like, and one of the things he said was that the energy wasn't it concentrated in the particles, it was in the space around the particles that was, and so I think this also explains why physicists have been measuring emanations of what they call radiations, or basically different frequencies of photons, emanating from all places they don't understand. Now, as we evolve and as we ascend, how these particles present themselves is going to change. It moves into a sort of higher light, and within higher light you get different forms of how the light presents itself and how it works. And so yeah, we are moving through and we are evolving, and matter itself is changing, and indeed a lot of constants that physicists thought were set in stone and wouldn't change, they are seeing that they are in fact changing, because the behavior and form of energy around you takes its form from the cue of you. The observer is the creator, and so everything forms itself to us. And so what these advanced races can do is they can send us more advanced, more information, or more advanced how can I put it? More advancedly informed light. Let's put it that way. That sounds a bit of a mouthful,
I know, I
but
get it. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So it's light that has higher encodements that they can send. Now, oftentimes what happens is that, a vast amount of the population can't assimilate that yet. So it can either pass through them, or it can sit in them as a time capsule and wait to open up in their energy field. And it really depends on where that individual being is as a soul, because they may have contracted with themselves that they don't want to go through the ascension process. They're just here to experience what goes on beforehand and then head off somewhere else, you know. So there's a whole different range of different contracts. They're self-agreements, really. Contract is a bit of I don't like the word so much, but it's a way in which somebody says, you know, I'd kind of like to experience that right now. I'm just going to go down and do that, or I want to go for it. I'm going to go through the whole thing and, you know, and do this and do that and do everything else. So that everything is quite mission specific as well. So a lot of the codings that you receive can be very specific to your mission. But yeah, I do believe that as we go forward, you know, the quality of how light presents itself to us and how it can interact with us and what it can exchange with us is going to change for sure. But I would say that for myself, the ascension process is absolutely an internal one. And this is the key point that my teams wanted me as a message to say, is that nothing that is given to you as a gift from outside can override your free will. So if you choose to stay stuck, if you choose not to ascend, that is fine, and that will be honored for you. So nothing is going to shunt or push you into doing anything. It's just available for you. And so the key thing is to be as playful and joyful and as open as possible, as you would love to be if you want to ascend in the most easiest way, because that's the way to be more receptive to these offerings that are coming from not only just space, but photons and emissions from the galactic center, from other civilizations. It's a whole overlay of different offerings from different aspects of the source, to say, you know, okay, so maybe you're not so open to that today. What about this over here? How would you like that? It's like a banquet, you know, all this food gets offered to you and you just go, no, I don't like that one. Yeah, that was good. I like that one. You know, I'll take that today, you know. So it kind of works a little bit like that too, but it always honors the free will and the choices of the person involved. And even if they are here to ascend, they might be going through something really rough or tough because of the outpourings from their unconsciousness right now. So it might decide, okay, your high self might decide, okay, so we'll just back off that for the moment. You just need to ride through this first, and then we'll unpack this a little bit later for you. You know, so it's such a beautiful dynamic relationship between us and energy and, you know, what's going on inside of us. But that's what I would say, like yourself, I would always encourage people that ascension is an internal opening process. And there are so many things that can help and do offer and come to you and get absorbed by you to help. But mainly, the main thing to be aware of is your willingness to open to your true self. That is for me, is a key ingredient in, you know, ascending and moving your consciousness forward. Definitely.
And I have to say to everyone listening that David's meditations are a beautiful way to enable that. Really beautiful. You couldn't go wrong with those. So, David, in listening to you, why is there such interest in Earth and us as humanity? It seems like we've got some kind of pivotal place or space in the whole universe. Is that true? Is that the case? Because you've mentioned that this isn't just an upgrade for the Earth and humanity, it's
Yes.
an upgrade for the entire universe. Is that correct?
Yes, very correct. Yeah, I'm glad that we mentioned that before about talking. I'm glad that you took that direction. So yes, my teams and my encounters, I can say, from my experiences with different races that, you know, come from way out there that I have no ability to pronounce the name of, you know, the impression when I get the signature from them, the quantum snapshot, when you get a full energetic impression of the beings, they are so excited what's unfolding here, because you see the way that the universe, universal systems, galaxies, solar systems, planets, or you know, civilizations on planets, it's like this beautiful nested fractal living energy system that interconnects and you know, all the way down to the subatomic and even further. You know, it's just this amazingly beautiful tapestry of how, you know, life loves to, or the source loves to express itself in those ways. And one of the special things that of the many things is that The human race is a combination of many master races that have excelled in certain areas, from Arcturus, the Pleiades, and other beings like that. We have fragments of their DNA in our code. Now, in coupling with that, because also the Earth was designed to be this pristine, beautiful planet, this living library where people from this galaxy and other galaxies could come and interface with the energy and learn about the history of this galaxy and the history of energetics going forward. You can come here and you can do that. Obviously that got interrupted with this little interlude that's going on right now. But the truth is that in a way, humanity going through this and coming and evolving out the other side has springshot humanity into a faster, more accelerated path of evolution. I know myself included, thinking, well, I'd rather it would have been another way, but the truth is that the human being, the way that these beings see it, has unfathomable potential. It really does. And they're really excited to see how humanity uses its free will to navigate itself towards that highest potential if they want to do that. And what's happening is that humanity's DNA, the design of it, and the fields that surround the DNA, because that's a massive part. Everybody is very focused on the actual elements of the DNA, but it's also the field that surrounds the DNA, which has a profound role to play. Now, what's happening is, according to these teams, and there's still a lot for me to learn as well, but I'm happy to share with you what I've gleaned so far. And that is that humanity is growing into this massive, multi-energetic perceiver and transmitter of energy, where we can perceive a huge bandwidth of multi-dimensional experience while still having physical form. And to my knowledge, it has never been done like that before. This is a first.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's incredible that, I mean, there's so much more that I am still learning. So I'm still gathering the bits and pieces myself. But humanity itself has a simply amazing future. There is no doubt about it. The steps that humanity is going to becoming a body that is a living, intelligent, energetic system that can interact with whole streams of different levels of experience and understanding. You'll have overlays of your ability to see, and for myself, I've been seeing overlays for a long time, but with my physical vision, I see one version, and I have an overlay where I can see, a being standing there, or this being coming in over here. And, when orbs come in close, and other people aren't seeing them, but you can if you sometimes look out the periphery, because your periphery is a little bit more sensitive to those things. But people are gonna, and I have no doubt there's lots of people on this planet who do that as well. And it's something which humanity is moving towards. And what I would say is that the more you can have fun with it, the more you can enjoy the process. And almost that in itself is an invitation to your higher self to give you more of that. You'll start seeing these more. And pretty soon your whole world will be filled with multi-layers of all these levels of existence, with different beings coming in different levels. And it will be this rich experience of, being able to do a whole bunch of things at a whole bunch of levels. And that's profound, because the kind of light information, to put it into a phrase, that the human being is capable of both transmitting and receiving, is really off the charts in its potential and where it's going. Now, the interactivity with beings outside of this galaxy, outside of the solar system, I think is also going to take steps up, because of that massive, vast band of resonance that the human energy field and human DNA will have. And they're so keen, because to be in a body as a consciousness, to experience that level of receptivity and perceptibility to life, the whole spectrum of life, is just profound. And I think that's what these beings are, partly interested in. They just really would love to see how humanity takes this and what humanity will become with this, because it is truly, truly beautiful. It really is.
And is it because we are more in physicality than the other races? Is that why we're regarded as special in this whole process?
Yes, that is a very good point, because to be able to do that from a point of density such as what we are in, it's like, wow, that's pretty incredible, because to be able to expand your consciousness from such a dense level is a challenge in of itself. But then to be able to have a densified body to a certain degree, but also have a multi-level or multi-spectral perception of energies in addition to that, that's really profound. That's very profound. And so it's, what a lot of advanced beings do, they can drop themselves down a bit, raise up, and they can do this. But I have a feeling what humanity is going to do is you'll have your physical body, but you'll also be able to stretch up and have, real experiences. When I say real, I mean very perceptible experiences, multidimensionally as well as physically. You'll be able to download, get information at high levels and transmit it at this level, and vice versa. It's in a way that I can feel my teams now saying that effectively humanity is going to become a profound multi-dimensional bridge, where you can have access to the high levels, but you also have existence down in these levels too. And they're saying, think of what will happen for the future of this galaxy and universe with beings who have that ability when they are emanating multidimensional energetics in densified spaces and densified experiences. How uplifting that will be as a bridge system to countless worlds and countless other beings. And that's another reason why I feel they're so excited. I can feel their excitement now, how excited they are, because to be able to introduce that and us to go out into the into the expanse and emanate that from that point of view is deeply profound. And that's another thing that is going to really super shift, and help this universe start to expand and open up, and have that multi-level experience as well.
Wow, it's just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing.
It is, I know, right?
It's difficult to ask this question because, of course, there is no time, and I'm sort of about to ask a question about linear time, but there is no time. We have to moment and not leak power going forwards or backwards. But astrologically, the next 3 years in particular, up until the end of 2027, and I know Richard Rudd of the Gene Keys is seeing this as well, and various other people that have been saying these 3 years in particular seem to be very accelerated into some
Mm.
kind of metamorphosis for humanity, or change of state or change of form. Do you see that, David? Or is that too linear a question, too 3D a question?
So I can feel my team smiling, kind of, they're sort of giggling. So yeah, so my teams, feel free to add to this if you want to layer into this. So they're kind of saying that the perspective of time that we have, yes, indeed, is very linear, but within the linearity are cyclical events that happen and almost helix-like unfoldings of time. Now, what they're saying is that you are very correct. The next coming years is going to be a tremendous infusion, is the words they're using, of a lot of very high level energetics. And they're saying this will be a challenge for some, but they're saying, if you remember what was said before, that the key to easy, effortless, and joyful ascension is just being playful and open heart-centeredly. They're saying you will ride the wave effortlessly. This is a fun thing. This is not a, oh my God, what's coming next? It's supposed to be fun. But the trouble is, as humanity, we've been so conditioned to be so serious about everything. That's part of the problem. It's like, knock that serious out one side and out the other. But they're saying these are part of the unfoldment, and it's going to be stepped up in different levels. But the next 5 years, they're saying 3 to 5 years, and they're saying the duration and how they take it depends on humanity's response. So if they feel like they want to take it slower, it will go slower. If people collectively decide, yeah, let's go for it, let's jump on this horse and go, it will go a bit faster. So free will is also honored in all of this. But yes, I think they are agreeing with what you were saying. That and they're saying the infusion of energies are going to be okay. They're using the word delightful, so it's going to be something very special. But they're saying if stuff comes up for you, okay, very funny. They're using the words to coin a human phrase, don't freak out. So, okay, don't freak out. So they're saying just remind yourself that you are moving out of, let me just see if I can get the wording properly. So if you go a little bit slower, that would be great. So they're saying that humanity's unfolding is really of its own choosing. But they're saying what we would heartedly recommend is that people spend as much time in nature, playing with children, grandchildren, being around that very innocent, pure emanation that of source intelligence, and reminding themselves of their inner child inside. Because they're saying that's a gateway to openness within yourself. And that's very key. Because they're saying what is coming is going to shake off the serious shackles. Okay. Yeah, that's what you said. Okay. So it's shedding off the old, which has kept us limited. And they're saying there's a lot of paradigms of perspectives and attitudes that people have, which they think are helping them, but are in fact, shackles and limitations that don't allow them to move forward. And they're saying one of the ways to detect this is that if you are, obviously if you're feeling, down or sad, those are usually emotions being unlocked and unleashed. But if you find sort of little odds, aches and pains coming up and everything, they're saying that's usually a signature of your internal resistance, resisting a transformation process that's going on. And they're smiling, they're saying, and we know a lot of you know that. Um, and so, yeah, they're saying they don't want to spoil the surprise. And I kind of understand why they're saying that, because they say that a lot to me as well with the invention side, because they're very keen on humanity experiencing this, not just this is where you're going, aim for that. It doesn't quite work like that, because you miss out on all the good stuff on the way if you just aim for the trajectory. And there's so much that humanity is going to self-learn on the way in riding this wave. And by doing that, they're saying there's a very special event that happens when you get your aha moment inside yourself. The self-learning process, when you have that aha, is such a profound blast of, how would you choose to describe it? Imprinting in your knowledge base and your understanding that you really you've experienced it, you've transcended it, you've gotten over it, and you're in a new place, and now you emanate that knowledge and understanding to everybody else. So it's like solving a puzzle piece. Once you do it and you emanate the knowledge and wisdom of what you did and that you went through it, felt the emotions, let them go, rolled through it, you now emanate the solution to others and they to you as well. And so that's part of the process. Actual experience of this without being, pushed and pulled, and having your own experiences is a very profound thing that needs to happen. So yeah, definitely.
Changes the morphogenic field. It's like running the first man to run the, whatever it was, 4 minute mile or whatever. It's in the or the monkeys
Yes, yeah.
wash their sweet potatoes in the sea, and then monkeys on every other island. It's the morphogenic field, Rupert Sheldrake idea.
Yes, it's very much like that. Yeah, I agree. And it's and the waves that are coming forward, my feel is, if I'm okay to share that, okay, yeah, they're okay with that, is that the image they're showing me is like okay, this is like a new surfer that really timidly approaches this gigantic wave, but has it go anyway, and then realizes as they just relax and let everything unfold, the wave is just effortlessly carrying them along. It's not bowling them at all, and they realize afterwards, wow, what a transcendence it was to go from, oh my God, what's happening, to woohoo, let's go for it, and they're saying that's the living energetics of the wave that interact with you. They're not there to bowl you over. It's your resistance that bowls you over. The wave is actually there to really give you the woohoo aha moment and to raise you up. And so, yeah, they're saying that's what is to be aware of. So as these beautiful waves come through, and they're saying most of the waves, interestingly enough, are actually coming from within. There are waves coming from without, but they're saying there'll come a time when that gateway, that heart-centered gateway, is open enough that what people are perceiving as coming outside, well, then they'll start to realize it's actually coming more through here now, because it can. The gateway is open. You're allowing it through now. And so your personal ascension development skyrockets, because, you can now access everything from within. It's up to you now. How fast you want to go? It's up to you. So yeah, yeah, I've never heard them say that quite like that. So that's a new one for me too. So
Will this mean, David, that we become healthier, we can live longer, we can reverse aging to some extent? That's going to be a whole new ball game in terms of our physicality as well.
yeah, very good question. So the understanding that they shared with me was that the process of cellular development, think of a photocopier. Right now, what happens is that one generation of cells gets its blueprint for development from the previous cell. But what if the previous cell generation got damaged? Well, it cyclically goes, And so effectively, it's like a photocopy. You put a copy in, you get a copy out. You don't put the original in, you put what you got out back into the photocopy, and you photocopy that. And if you
Telomeres,
keep
isn't it? Telomeres.
yeah, exactly. It degrades. It's just eventually you end up with a few black dots on your page, and that's it. It's just missing everything. And that's essentially what's happening to the human form. And to the beings that I interact with, they don't have that, because their gateway inside, the intelligence within guides everything, the cellular process, the generation process, the whole 9 yards is developed and maintained to perfection from the intelligence within them. It doesn't need a copy of a copy of a copy to get its instructions from, which is normally like Chinese whispers. It's so muddled up by the end of the day. There's what's that? That's like a blob of jelly. It's like, so that's kind of how it works. And they were saying that this is what's coming in store for humanity, where humanity will get to the space where you will have complete choice over how long you occupy your body or how short. It will just be there maintained for you as long as you want to. You can change your age if you want to. And that's what a lot of ETs do. They get to a certain level of physical development and say, oh, this is good. I'm going to stay in this shape. And they keep themselves there. And so that is all a matter of conscious energetics. And in tandem with that, like what I spoke when we last had a talk, was that the matter itself is also evolving in this ascension process, and it's becoming more awake in a sense. The living energetics are starting to open up within particulate systems. So it's this whole myriad, everything is moving together. It's not just us, it's the earth, it's the matter, it's the material, it's the space. It's so profound. It really is.
Wow, David, this has just been absolutely mind-blowing and absolutely sensational. Is there anything before we close any additional message that you'd like to share with people before we close?
Yeah. So before I mentioned that I'm going through a process of myself, so my ability to, communicate so clearly is just going through a process of adjustment right now. But the other way that I can facilitate messages is empathic communication. So like I was doing before, they come close to my energy field and they can send messages. So the teams, okay, do you have any messages that you would like to impart at the moment with so very strongly, okay, this is an Arcturian group. And they are saying, you have so much hope for the future. They're saying, we know that many of you are disheartened because of what you see. We are going to ask you to withdraw your perceptive senses from your media, your news channels, your devices. Give yourself a chance to sample true energetics coming from within and from nature. The more you can spend in that environment, connecting within, being in nature, rhythmically breathing, just spending time doing that, they're saying your sense of peace and settlement is the word they're using, is going to go leaps and bounds, to coin a human phrase, they're saying. And they're saying, do not be dismayed by what you are seeing. It is a literal outpouring and outplaying of the old that is leaving. It has no place to stay here. It's not allowed to stay here anymore. It's being cleansed out. And so the way to allow it to move faster is to not focus on it. They're saying the more you focus, you'll grab it and you'll start, what's the word that you're using there? They're saying you start aligning yourself, and bringing your energy system down in sadness when you start spending too much time with your perspective, focusing on things that, just all the yucky stuff pouring out. They're saying the very best service you can be for yourself and the world is to, as they said before, they're saying, go into your heart center. You don't force yourself, just relax in there. The more joyful that you can be, the more connection that you will get there. And then just learn to just feel that energy infuse your body and just do that simple exercise, they're saying. Go out in nature, do that infusion process. And they're saying you will be surprised how quickly your level of calm and understanding that everything really is okay is going to come into play. They're saying the trouble with having your perspective fixed on things that are, of low energy is that you are literally inviting yourself to come down and match what you are focusing on. And so then you bring your energy system down, you feel depressed, you feel down, and you think, oh God, what's going on? But they're saying that, it really is just a reflective illusion. And, when you can maintain your center, you will realize you can choose peace and divinity and happiness at any point. You can be in the lowest point of some process, and you'll have the mastery eventually to be able to choose, no, up we go. And that old stuff will just drop away like it wasn't even there. So that's the thing. It's just bring your focus, your perception back to your heart intelligence and allow that infusion to take place. Breathe rhythmically and then see how you feel. It will be very quick.
That's really beautiful,
So,
David. It's interesting because I've often said, what we tend to do is focus on what we absolutely don't want more of and then blame it for giving us.
right, I know, right?
And we get
Sure.
into this, constant circle of, it's all coming from us. That has been absolutely beautiful. And I've been very moved by things you've shared. And it's going to be enormously positive and uplifting for people to hear. And I'm just so grateful. I know
Yes.
you're an incredibly busy man. And I'm just so, so grateful for your time. I really am.
Well, absolutely. And I love to do this. I feel a great joy myself to share this information and to help people because, I've been through a lot myself. I've been through some very, very deep times myself. I've been there rolling around on the floor, crying my eyes out, hoping it would all finish, and it has been hard. But I think having gone through that and understanding what they mean by, yes, this is the outpouring, and the more you resist is what the bad effects are. It's what we experience. When you can understand that and realize, you know what, okay, this is a process. I'm just going to let it fold. It's going to leave. I'm going to get past this in a minute or two or an hour or however long it takes. It's going to be fine. But I'm just going to enjoy my day and just let it unfold. And it will leave, and it really is human resistance that keeps it there. And for me, in my experience, that nugget of information, that profound knowingness has helped me accelerate past really deep stuff really quickly. Stuff that used to bowl me over for like a week. It comes up for 5 minutes. Okay, it's gone. It doesn't affect anymore because the resistance, as you gently lift it and let go of it and be playful, be fun, let go of the seriousness. None of this should be serious. The more it's almost like a barometer. The more serious you are, the more of a heavy time you're going to have. Go the other way, go the joy route, and then you'll find that, yeah, have a laugh about it. Yeah, it's stuff, it's flying off. It'll leave soon. Don't worry about it. It's okay. That I feel is the way to go through these processes
Yeah,
for
we've got
sure.
to find joy in every day. This isn't a dress
Oh yes.
rehearsal. We find joy in every day. So bless you, David. So, what I will do, everybody, is put the first conversation David and I had, because there was so much in there below this video. Also, the link for David's website for his regenerative technology. Also, the link for his Patreon group and the meditations as well. So you can link directly with him. And I couldn't recommend those more highly. That is a accelerated route to get to what he's been talking about in this last hour or so. So, David, just thank you again for being here. Thank you for your time, and undoubtedly we're going to have more conversations in future. I would really love that, and I think the viewers would absolutely adore that. So,
I would love that too. And, to your viewers, I wish you the most beautiful experiences, everyone watching this and everyone who's not watching this, humanity really is in for the best of times. We're just in a transition process right now. So just don't get caught up in the transition. Just get focused on your own joy and just roll with
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
it.
Thank you so much, and sending love to everybody out there. Hope you've loved it as much as I have, and thanks again, David. We'll connect again really soon.
You're very welcome. I love to you all.